Well, the self-help industry preaches practices of goal setting, willpower, and positive thinking, but our next guest says that they've got it all wrong.
Adele Spraggon says it's patterns of behavior that are holding people back from their true potential. And she outlines how to break the cycle in her book, Shift 4 Steps to Personal Empowerment. And Adele joins us now. Nice to see you. Listen, you're rocking some people's worlds with that.
I am.
Right? Like there's always put it in the universe, you know, meditate on it. And you're saying that doesn't work?
I'm saying that it doesn't work as effectively as if we can work the way our brains are designed to work.
Okay.
So neuroscience is showing us that our actions are actually not driven by our mind. Our actions are driven by our subconscious patterning. Patterns that we created a long time ago when we were young that continue to take the same actions over and over again today. So we all have goals. And we all strive to achieve those goals, and then we get stopped. We get stopped by fears and self-doubts and fear of getting on the stage, fear of public speaking, fear of selling, fear of all of this stuff.
And those fears, that's our subconscious speaking to us?
Yes.
Our inner child?
Not so much the inner child, no. Our brain is actually wired. It's wired to create patterns. That's how our brains work.
Okay.
Some of those patterns work and some of them don't. When they don't work, they generate fears, self-doubts, procrastination, avoidance.
So then how long does it take to break a pattern? So if you have a pattern of, say, being afraid to do something, and you want to not do that anymore, you're saying positive self-talk and all of that doesn't necessarily work. You have to walk the walk. So how long does it take to break a pattern?
Well, to learn how to break a pattern takes about 6 weeks. But once you know the tool, once you know how to do it, it's a 2-minute technique that's done in the privacy of your own head. So it's very quick. Our brains have plasticity. They're designed to be rewired all the time. We're just doing this systematically rather than spontaneously.
How many times do you have to do it, though?
That depends. So it really depends on what you're facing, how long that pattern has been there, if it's ingrained, if it's really wired in your head.
Is it something that, Adele, you need to practice kind of on a daily basis for a little while, be very conscious of your subconscious, as it were? Because I've read it takes like 21 days of repeated behavior to kind of change a habit.
Yeah. You know, I'll give you an example. I had one woman, and she had this great idea for a business. But in order to get that business launched, she had to get in front of top banks and CEOs in order to get financing. And this idea terrified her. And so instead of like, you know, what are you going to say, or build your confidence and all of this stuff that we're told to do, I said, okay, let's just remove the pattern that's making you afraid. So she did that. It took her about 4 weeks to remove the pattern. And then she effortlessly stood in front of these CEOs and these top banks. And not only did she get financing, but in 3 short years, her business is worth $20 million.
Whoa!
It's amazing how effective it is when we work on the right problem, which is our patterns.
See, I would have just hired somebody to be me for that day.
You would have been like, I'm not doing
I can't
this.
do this. Yeah, could you pretend to be me?
You've helped people all over the world.
I have, yes.
Yeah, so what are some of the most successful, I mean, she's obviously one of the top people, but can you give us examples of others that you've helped?
Oh, yeah, I mean, you know, anything that stops people. So many people are faced with conflict avoidance, for example, so we can repattern that. But I've also worked with couples, like couples who are on the verge of divorce. They become like newlyweds again within 6 weeks. It's remarkable because it just removes all the conflicts that are occurring within ourselves and in our relationships by working on those patterns.
Amazing.
Yeah, one of those patterns is assigning blame, and I think that we're all guilty of that. And,
you are, at least. So.
Are you blaming me for assigning blame?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. How do we break that pattern? Because that's one that can be so destructive in our day-to-day lives, in our relationships particularly.
Yeah, well, I think that's why I really speak out against mindset. Because mindset is all about shame and blame. If you can't do it, it's your fault, so you're supposed to feel shame. If there's a problem that you've got to solve, then you've got to find something to blame in order to solve that problem. So, yeah, but when we work on our patterns, when we just remove those patterns that are causing that need to blame, that need to look outside ourselves and look for an answer, that blame just disappears.
What's an easy one people could work on today? And what's a step forward they could take, like a takeaway for everybody
brilliant.
at home?
Okay, great. So here's the thing. Set your goal. Say where I want to go. Now, instead of saying, how do I get there? Don't look for the solution. Instead, ask yourself, why am I not there today? What am I believing? What am I doing? And what am I behaving that is stopping me from having that goal? Now, the next step is to remove that pattern, okay? So a pattern is actually occurring in the body and the mind. It's not just mind. So you're just going to gently tease that pattern apart, tease that channel in the brain apart, and then let the brain do what it does best, which is create a new pattern. But because it's perfectly aligned with the situation you're in, you will take the optimal step towards your goal.
Yeah, and I think when we talk about goals, it's important, particularly in this day and age of self-gratification, to know that maybe you're not going to get your goal, today or tomorrow or next week, but revel in kind of the journey and the process of getting there.
You have to, yeah, for sure.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And most goals are achievable, so go for it.
All right, Adele's new book is entitled Shift, 4 Steps to Personal Empowerment. It is available now. Adele, thanks so much.
Oh, thank you.
Amazing. That was great.
And we're back after a break here in the morning show. Stay with us.